Introduction. You've been lied to. They told you that thinking positively was enough. That writing affirmations, scripting desires, visualizing goals would unlock a new life. So you did it. Again, and again, and again. But nothing really changed, did it? Because no one told you the truth. The universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your being. And here's what that really means. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. All this time, you've been trying to manifest from the outside in, when the real power was always moving from the inside out. This isn't just another law of attraction video. This is the reset, the return, the moment the illusion falls apart and the real work begins. Over the next 2 hours, you will not be taught how to get more. You'll remember how to become more. Not more productive, not more successful, not more spiritual, more authentic, more aligned, more you. This isn't about learning how to manifest. It's about finally understanding why you haven't yet. There's a reason this video found you. Because something inside you is ready. Not to be motivated, but to be awakened. Take a breath. Not the shallow one you take to survive, but the kind you take when the truth hits so deep it rearranges you. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The book that chooses you. This isn't just a video. It's a book, but not the kind you find. The kind that finds you. Some messages don't land until the soul is ready. And when it is, the universe doesn't whisper. It delivers. So if you're here right now listening, this chapter didn't randomly play. It was summoned by you. Yes, you. The part of you that's been quietly watching from within, waiting for the rest of you to catch up. The truth is, you've already read this book before. Not with your eyes, but with your experience. Every heartbreak, every failure, every coincidence. There were chapters, lessons, pages torn from invisible scrolls. The book of you. But today is different, because today you stop just reading your life and start writing it. See, people think manifestation is about controlling reality. It's not. It's about remembering that you are the one reality bend around. When you stop pretending to be small, the book that finds you never flatters your ego. It disarms it. It speaks in sentences that taste like surrender. It underlines everything you've been avoiding. And then it hands you a pen. The most powerful moment of your life isn't when someone gives you permission. It's when you realize you never needed it. You didn't press play. Something ancient in you did. And that part, it doesn't care how long you've been lost. It only cares that you're ready now. This chapter is the key in your hand. Not to unlock the door, but to remember that you built it. And just beyond it, not your future, your return. Chapter 2, the space between thought. Close your eyes, not to escape, but to arrive. Right here, right now, there is something sacred happening. And it's not in your thoughts. It's in the space between them. That pause, that breath, that stillness where nothing seems to happen. That's where everything begins. You were trained to worship the noise. The plans, the loops, the voices in your head that all sound like you, but aren't. You were taught to think your way to freedom, but thought was never the master, only the gatekeeper, because in the moment thought pauses, in that razor-thin silence between the sentence you just finished and the next one forming, you appear, not the persona, not the survival mask, but the presence, the watcher, the one who's always been here. The law of attraction, it doesn't activate when you affirm. It activates when you align. And alignment happens in silence, not in shouting your dreams into the void. Want to know why your vision hasn't arrived? Because the version of you who receives it is buried under 10,000 distractions and 12 tabs open in your soul. It's not that the universe isn't responding. It's just waiting for you to finally get quiet enough to hear the response. There's a voice in you that does not speak in words. It lives in the gaps. It speaks in frequencies. And when you finally become still enough to feel it, you don't get answers. You become the answer. The space between thought isn't empty. It's everything that's real. And the more you return to it, the more your reality begins to return to you. Chapter 3, The First Remembrance. You've never been lost. You've only been distracted. From the moment you were born, the world handed you names, labels, systems, and told you, this is who you are. You believe them. Of course you did. That's what we do when we forget we're infinite. But beneath all the stories, beneath the traumas, the projections, the endless noise, something stayed untouched, something ancient, something intact, something you. And now, you're feeling it again, aren't you? Like a déjà vu you can't explain. Like a voice inside that whispers, this isn't new, this is yours. That's the first remembrance, not of a lesson learned, but of a truth reclaimed. This truth doesn't come in words. It comes in waves. It comes in quiet sobs you can't justify, and in goosebumps that arrive before the meaning does. You don't need to understand it. You just need to stop pretending you don't. Because remembrance isn't mental. It's cellular. It's what happens when your body hears a sentence, and something clicks so deeply, you forget to breathe for a second. That's not inspiration. That's activation. And you've been here before. Not in this exact moment, but in this feeling. Every great shift in your life came not from adding something new, but from removing what was never yours. The truth? You are not here to become anything. You are here to remember everything. And in this remembrance, something unlocks. Not because you did something right, but because you finally stopped running. This chapter doesn't teach you who you are. It reminds you of who you were, before the world convinced you to forget. Chapter 4, The Seed of Reality. Every part of your life, every relationship, every failure, every joy, started long before it happened. It didn't begin when the email arrived, or when they said the words that broke you, or when the door opened and you said, finally. It began when a seed was planted, and that seed was planted in silence, in a moment you probably don't even remember. A thought, a feeling, a frequency you carried for just long enough that the universe translated it into form. Reality is the last thing that happens. What you see now is the echo, the final ripple of something that started in the invisible. And you are the sower, with every emotion you hold, every belief you rehearse, every story you tell about who you are and what's possible. You are planting, but here's the part no one talks about. Most people plant in panic and wonder why they harvest pain. Because you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what your nervous system believes is safe. And sometimes, you've been living so long in survival that even your deepest dreams feel dangerous. The truth is, your life is already perfectly designed to match the energy you've been emitting. So ask yourself, what have I been watering with my attention? Because the law of attraction doesn't ask, what do you hope for? It asks, what do you keep alive with your focus? If you don't like your garden, don't curse the flowers. Check the seeds. Check the soil. Check the story. You're always planting, even now, and in the sacred quiet of this chapter, a new seed is forming, one that carries the signature of who you're finally ready to become. Water it with truth, and it will bloom into something the old you could never survive. Chapter 5, Emotion is the Signal. You were never meant to ignore your emotions. They are not weaknesses. They are not distractions. They are not tests. They are instruments, finely tuned receptors, each one pulsing with a single question. Are you aligned with who you really are right now? That's it. No spiritual drama. No cosmic punishment. Just data. Just guidance. But you've been taught to numb what hurts, to silence the ache, to override the fear, to swallow your grief and smile through your rage. And by doing that, you've been walking with your compass shattered. The universe responds to frequency. Not words, not effort, not willpower. And emotion is the clearest signal of your frequency. When you feel joy, ease, resonance, that's alignment. That's green light. That's this way. When you feel tightness, dread, heaviness in your chest, that's not failure. That's feedback. It's your soul saying, you've taken a step away from your truth. Your job is not to fix the emotion. Your job is to listen to it. Because emotion always comes before manifestation. If you want to know what's coming into your life, don't look at your vision board. Look at how you feel every day. Are you carrying guilt while asking for love? Carrying scarcity while visualizing abundance? Carrying fear while scripting success? The universe listens to your vibration, not your vocabulary. So let yourself feel, not to indulge the story, but to decode the signal. Every emotion is a message, and every message is an invitation back to alignment. The next time discomfort rises, don't run. Pause. Place your hand over your heart and whisper, "What are you trying to show me?" Because when you stop fighting your feelings, they stop screaming to be heard. They soften, and in that softening, you'll hear the clearest signal you've ever known. Not just emotion, but truth. Chapter 6, The Body Knows First. Before the thought arrives, before the affirmation is spoken, before the story forms in your head, your body already knows. It tightens, it opens, it shivers, it expands. And if you're honest, you felt it more times than you can count. That clench in your gut before you said yes, when everything in you was screaming no. That chill down your spine when someone lied, even though they smiled when they said it. That sinking sensation you ignored because logic said, don't be dramatic. But your body isn't dramatic. It's devoted. It's the oldest part of you, the one that remembers who you were, before you learned to pretend. The mind may lie to protect the ego, but the body never lies, because it's wired to resonance. It doesn't analyze, it registers. It doesn't rationalize, it responds. It's not waiting for permission to feel truth. It is truth in motion, and that's why manifestation doesn't begin in the mind. It begins in the body. If your body contracts every time you say, I am abundant, then the universe doesn't receive the words. It receives the resistance. You can't vibrate with what you don't feel safe to hold. And your body is where safety lives. So let it speak. Place your hand on your belly. Ask it what it knows that your brain is still trying to avoid. Because your next breakthrough won't come from more information. It will come from embodiment. Let your posture change. Let your walk shift. Let your breath deepen. This is the body's way of saying, I remember. I've always known. And the more you trust that knowing, the more your reality will reshape around it. Not because you forced it, but because you finally listened. Chapter 7, Life as a Mirror. Look around you, not just with your eyes, but with your awareness fully turned on. Everything you see, feel, resist, or desire is a mirror, not a punishment, not a test, not a judgment, a reflection. Your life isn't happening to you. It's happening through you, and then reflecting back at you in a language of people, patterns, money, time, emotion, silence. This is the truth most avoid, not because it isn't beautiful, but because it's uncomfortable, because it means that the chaos, the rejection, the disconnection, they didn't just arrive. They were called in, not consciously, not deliberately, but vibrationally. What you believe deep down about love, worth, safety, power becomes the architecture of what life reflects. If you believe love has to be earned, you'll attract relationships where you're always proving yourself. If you believe money is hard, you'll meet it in struggle and scarcity, no matter how hard you work. If you believe you're not enough, The world will faithfully deliver situations that reinforce that identity. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it's exact. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you're in agreement with. Energetically. That's why awareness is your greatest tool. Because the moment you stop reacting and start observing, you begin to reclaim authorship. So instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this showing me about what I still believe? Because when you shift what you believe, you don't have to fight the mirror anymore. You just change the face that's looking into it. And life, without resistance, changes with you. Chapter 8. The frequency of truth. Truth has a frequency, not a philosophy, not a belief, a vibration. And when you're in it, you breathe deeper, you speak slower, your body relaxes, your mind stops arguing. Because truth doesn't have to convince. It doesn't shout. It simply resonates. The reason most manifestations collapse before they arrive is not because the desire was wrong, but because it was built on top of something false. A mask, a need to prove, a vibration that said, I don't believe I am what I'm asking for. And the universe? It doesn't deliver based on your effort. It delivers based on your energetic congruence. You can journal every day, meditate for hours, repeat affirmations until your throat aches. But if you're lying to yourself about who you are, or pretending to be something you're not, nothing sticks. Because manifestation is not performance. It's permission to return to what's already true. So pause. Ask yourself gently, what am I pretending not to know? What part of me is exhausted from performing positivity just to earn what was always mine? Let yourself drop the mask, because underneath it is the version of you the universe recognizes. Not the one who says all the right things. The one who's anchored in truth, even if she trembles, even if she's messy, even if she's still healing. That version, she doesn't need to try to attract anything. She becomes the frequency of what's already hers. And the universe, without fail, responds. Chapter 9. Sacred Listening. You say you want truth, but when it whispers, you turn up the volume, not of the voice, but of everything else. You check your phone. You open another tab. You scroll, swipe, consume, repeat. And you wonder why you can't feel guidance. But how can you receive the sacred when you've made no space for the sacred to enter? Real listening isn't passive. It's not silence for the sake of peace. It's silence that breaks you open. Because the voice of the divine isn't loud. It's unrelenting. It speaks in symptoms, in sleepless nights, in the way your chest tightens when you walk into certain rooms, in the sickness that keeps returning no matter what you treat. The universe isn't quiet. You just become fluent in ignoring it. Sacred listening is dangerous, because once you really hear, you can't unhear. You'll have to leave the job, end a relationship, let the false identity die. You'll have to stop playing spiritual dress-up and get naked with your soul. No crystals, no quotes, no performance, just you, in a room, with the parts of yourself that you buried under healing and called it progress. Want to hear the voice of God? Good. Turn off the noise. Sit still long enough for the discomfort to rise, and then rise through it. Because sacred listening isn't about finding answers. It's about finally stopping long enough to let the truth find you. Chapter 10. The first yes to the invisible. You think your life changes when something happens. It doesn't. Your life changes the moment you say yes to something that hasn't happened yet. Not the kind of yes you say with your mouth, while your energy still says, I don't believe this. Not the yes you post about. Not the yes you journal at 5 a.m. with incense burning. I mean the yes that terrifies you. The one that shows up in your bones before it ever shows up in your bank account. The one that makes your stomach turn, because it means something real is about to be lost or born. It's the yes you whisper through tears. Alone, with no proof, no audience, and no backup plan. That kind of yes, it rearranges reality. Not because it's magic, but because it's a contract, a frequency signature that tells the universe, I'm not waiting for evidence anymore. I am the evidence. Most people want manifestation without intimacy. They want to call in abundance, without facing their addiction to scarcity. They want to invite love, without unclenching the fists they've used to survive. But the invisible doesn't play by those rules. It responds to one thing: devotion. The kind of devotion that says, even if nothing changes, I will stay aligned. Because the real shift doesn't happen when it arrives. It happens when you stop negotiating with your doubt and say, I'm already becoming the one who receives this. So pause and ask yourself, honestly, where have I been waiting for proof before offering my yes? Then burn the waiting and offer your yes now. Shaky, messy, bare, because that's the yes the invisible is waiting for, not your perfection, just your permission. Chapter 11, The Soul That Remembers. There's a moment that doesn't come with fireworks. It comes like a hush, like the breath you didn't know you were holding, like heat behind your eyes for no reason you can explain. And in that moment, you don't learn something. You remember, not with your brain, not as a fact, but as a cellular shiver, a vibration moving through the marrow of you, the ancient, untouchable part of you that never forgot. It's the moment you realize you're not broken, you're not behind, you're not late. You're just waking up from a spell of pretending you weren't already whole. You've tried everything: courses, retreats, meditation apps, another mantra, another teacher, another fix. But the breakthrough didn't come in the technique. It came when you finally sat still long enough to hear your soul whisper, welcome back, because it never left. It watched, it waited, it forgave every mask you wore to survive. And when you were ready, not healed, not finished, just ready, it cracked open the shell from the inside, not to give you new answers, but to return you to the truth you already knew. You don't need to become someone else to be powerful. You need to stop forgetting who you already are. This remembering isn't poetic. It's a responsibility. Because once you remember, you can't go back. You can't shrink to fit what you've outgrown. You can't pretend to be asleep just because waking costs comfort. You're not becoming spiritual. You are spirit. And your human life is what it chose, not what it's trapped in. So breathe. Not like someone chasing peace, but like someone reclaiming their place at the center of the universe. The remembering has already begun. Chapter 12, The Mind That Lets Go. The mind is brilliant, sharp, strategic, quick. It built systems, solved problems, protected you. But here's the part you've been avoiding. It's also the one who won't let you go. It clings to timelines, to identities, to the idea that safety comes from control. It whispers things like, if I can just figure this out, if I plan better, if I understand enough, I won't get hurt again. And all the while, your soul sits silently, watching you try to calculate the infinite. Let's tell the truth here. Your mind was never meant to be in charge. It was meant to be in service. But somewhere along the way, you made it the king. It's been ruling your life with fear disguised as logic ever since. The breakthroughs you crave, they're not waiting for more thought. They're waiting for you to release the grip, not into chaos, but into clarity that doesn't need an explanation. You see, the moment the mind lets go, what arises isn't confusion, it's stillness. And in that stillness, you'll hear the guidance that was always drowned out by thinking. There's a reason intuition feels like a whisper. It speaks when a mind finally shuts up. So what does letting go really mean? It means choosing to trust beyond your training. It means walking forward, even when your intellect demands a map. It means letting your body say yes, before your brain has finished its list of what-ifs. Because freedom never comes with a guarantee. It comes with a surrender. And when the mind finally bows to the mystery, you don't lose control. You gain access to a part of yourself that was never afraid to begin with. Chapter 13, You are not the fear. Fear doesn't live in the future. It lives in you, in the versions of you still gripping old stories. Like lifelines, it hides behind logic. It dresses up like caution. It quotes trauma like scripture. And if you're not paying attention, you start to call it wisdom. But let's be honest, that voice that says, don't try, don't speak, don't ask for more, don't get your hopes up, that's not wisdom. That's fear pretending to be your personality. And you've worn it for so long. You started calling it me. You made a home in it, decorated it with routines, built relationships that protect it, made life decisions so it wouldn't be provoked. But you're not the fear. You're the awareness that sees it. And the moment you remember that, everything changes, because the fear will still speak. But you won't answer like it's the truth. You'll stop confusing survival with intuition. You'll stop shrinking when you feel your own power. You'll stop mistaking resistance for divine signs. Fear doesn't need to be eliminated. It needs to be seen for what it is. A relic, a reflex, a recording, not an authority. Because when fear stops being the narrator, your life doesn't just change. It returns to you. You begin to move differently, not recklessly, but with that quiet boldness that says, I'm no longer loyal to the version of me that fear created. And that shift, it doesn't just rewrite your story. It ends a cycle you were never meant to die inside of. Chapter 14, You don't need to deserve. You already are. You spent your whole life trying to be worthy of love, of peace, of ease, of good things. You made your healing a checklist, turned your pain into a payment, wrote stories in your head that sounded like, once I finally fix this, then I can receive. Once I become better, I'll be ready. But the truth? You don't have to earn what was always yours. There is no prize for suffering gracefully, no gold star for self-denial, no cosmic trophy for proving how broken you've been. There's just this, the breath you're taking right now, the heartbeat that never asked you to prove anything, the soul that already knows. I am, not I deserve to be, not I will be when, just I am. And the universe? It doesn't bless those who've worked the hardest. It blesses those who've stopped resisting their own divinity. You were taught that receiving requires perfection. But look at the trees, the rivers, the sky. They receive without shame. They don't ask if they meditated enough. They don't shrink when abundance pours through them. And yet, here you are, apologizing for your desires, filtering your joy so no one feels uncomfortable, swallowing your light because someone once said, you were too much. But you don't need to deserve anything. You need to remember who you are underneath the performance. You are not a project. You are not a transaction. You are not a spiritual resume. You are a portal, a temple, a phenomenon of presence wrapped in skin. You are not here to earn what is sacred. You are here to receive it, as if it never had to be earned at all, because it didn't, and it never will. Chapter 15, Letting Go is active trust. Letting go isn't peace at first. It's grief. It's the scream you swallowed 10 years ago. It's the tremor in your hands when you unclench from something that defined you. Letting go is what happens when you realize, I've been trying to control what was never mine to hold. The person, the plan, the story, the version of you that was built entirely on survival. You didn't create it because you were broken. You created it because you were afraid. And it worked until it didn't. Until the mask got too heavy. Until the plan became a prison. Until your own brilliance began to rot in a box labeled safe. That's when the invitation comes. Not from a teacher, not from a sign, but from a quiet cracking inside your chest that says, let it fall. But here's what they don't tell you. Letting go isn't surrendering to nothing. It's surrendering to what actually wants to carry you. Not your ego, not your trauma loop, not your inner manager with a clipboard and a calendar, but the intelligence that grows trees, that breaks oceans open, that holds galaxies in silence. That same intelligence lives in you. It's not interested in your spreadsheets. It's not waiting for you to figure it out. It's waiting for you to trust so deeply that you let the identity built on control die. Yes, die. Because trust is not passive. It is active deconstruction. It is removing the scaffolding. Not because you know what comes next, but because you no longer want to live in a building that isn't yours. So when you say, I'm letting go, what you really mean is, I'm done pretending that gripping tighter is how I stay alive. Because it isn't. Trust doesn't mean you won't fall. It means you'll finally find out what was meant to catch you. And maybe, just maybe, you'll realize it's always been inside you. The net, the ground, the God. Chapter 16, Receiving is Courage. You think you want to receive. You say you're ready. You light candles. You open your arms. You write in your journal. I am open. I am worthy. I allow. But then it shows up. Love, ease, money, grace. And suddenly your chest tightens. You smile, but your nervous system screams. Shut the door. It's not safe to need. Because receiving isn't soft. It's violent to the identity that learned how to survive by not needing anyone. You were praised for being selfless. You were applauded for being strong. You became addicted to being the one who always gives. You wore depletion like a crown and called it service. And now, when life tries to give something back, you freeze. Because to receive, you have to admit that you have a wound, an ache, a hunger, a space inside you that isn't polished, healed, or holy, just human. And that's terrifying, because the moment you receive, you are seen, unmasked, exposed. No performance, no control, just you, in your need. And you've been taught to call that weakness. But let's name it for what it really is. Receiving is holy exposure, and it is courage. The courage to stay soft, while your ego begs you to armor up. The courage to say yes, when everything in you is trained to say, I'm fine. Receiving is terrifying, because it threatens the identity that says, you're only valuable when you're useful. But the truth? You're not here to be useful. You are here to be loved, to be held, to be filled, and until you learn to receive. Without apology, explanation, or performance, you will keep manifesting a life where everything flows through you, but never to you. So let this be the moment you stop worshiping the grind and start honoring the open hand. Say yes to the hug you pull away from. Say yes to the help you don't think you deserve. Say yes to the softness that your inner warrior still fears. Because real power is not how long you can go without being fed. Real power is saying, I'm hungry, and I'm worthy of the feast. Chapter 17, The Shadow is Also Light. Everyone wants the light, the clarity, the healing, the glow. But the light you crave is buried inside the part of you you've spent your whole life trying to kill. You spiritualized your shame, sanitized your rage, silenced your instincts. You thought if you were good enough, kind enough, high vibe enough, maybe you could escape the basement. But here's the truth. The basement holds the crown, because what you buried, the jealousy, the lust, the bitterness, the grief, wasn't poison. It was power you weren't allowed to claim. And so it grew teeth. It turned feral, not because it was evil, but because you abandoned it. Let's stop pretending. Your shadow isn't a concept. It's the version of you who remembers everything. The time you didn't speak, the time you betrayed yourself, the time you made yourself smaller so someone else could stay comfortable. And you locked her in the cellar because she didn't match the persona you curated. But she's still down there, singing your name in frequencies you hear in your insomnia, calling you back every time something in your life collapses without warning. That's not sabotage. That's summoning. Because no part of you will stay buried forever, especially the part that holds your voice, your fire, your unapologetic knowing. You don't have to heal your shadow. You have to bring her home. Let her sit at the table with your love and your light. Let her scream. Let her weep. Let her be sacred without being softened. Because your shadow doesn't need to be tamed. It needs to be trusted. She is not the wound. She is the guardian of everything you said you weren't allowed to be. And when you welcome her back, not as an exile, but as a queen, you stop leaking power. You stop splitting your soul into digestible pieces. You become whole enough to be dangerous again. And that's the light no one can look away from. Chapter 18, The Power of Gentleness. What if the real revolution is softness? Not performance, not control, not grinding your way to freedom, but the gentle, unapologetic return to a rhythm so ancient. You forgot it lived in your blood. They taught you that power is noise, force, sharpness, velocity. They taught you that if you weren't pushing, you weren't doing enough. But what if the real power is in how slowly you breathe when the world speeds up? What if it's in the way you hold your own heart, when no one else knows it's breaking? What if power is being fully open? In a world that profits from your closure, gentleness is not weak. It's refined brutality, the kind that refuses to harden, even when it bleeds. To be gentle is to walk through fire barefoot and still offer warmth. It's standing in front of someone who hurt you and not needing to destroy them, just to prove you survived. It's hearing the old voice rise, the one that says, toughen up, don't feel this, don't need anything, and choosing to listen to the quieter one underneath it. You don't have to do this the hard way anymore. Gentleness rewires you. It dissolves the war inside your nervous system. It teaches your inner child that peace is not the reward. It's the home. But here's the secret. Gentleness isn't just a way of being. It's a frequency. It changes how life responds to you. When you move gently, doors don't slam, they unfold. When you speak gently, your words don't shout, they land. And when you live gently, you stop chasing love, because your presence becomes the invitation. So pause here, not to think, not to decide, but to feel what begins to move in your chest. When you remember, you were never meant to live clenched. Unclench, unfold, soften, let the armor crack, let the breath deepen, let the water rise. Because in a world that taught you violence as protection, your gentleness is sacred defiance. Chapter 19, Not Force. Frequency. You were taught to push. Push to succeed. Push to be loved. Push to change. Push to heal. Push to prove that you're not falling apart. But force was never your nature. It was your coping mechanism. Because no one ever taught you that there was something more powerful than effort. Frequency, not effort, not hustle, not noise, just vibration. The silent signal you send with your breath, your beliefs, your embodiment. The universe doesn't respond to how badly you want it. It responds to how deeply you're being it. And here's the most uncomfortable part. The life you're living right now isn't a result of what you work for. It's the echo of what you've been willing to resonate with. That person who keeps disrespecting your boundaries, that financial ceiling you can't seem to break, that repeating cycle of almost but not quite, all of it is feedback, not of your failure, but of your frequency. So what are you tuned to? Scarcity wrapped in spiritual language? Self-worth that still requires proving? Pleasure that only feels safe when it's earned? Or are you finally attuned to the version of you that doesn't need to chase what already belongs? Because when you're in frequency, you don't have to force the door open. You become the key. You don't have to make them love you. Your nervous system emits truth, and it either calls them in or clears them out. You don't have to convince life to support you. You shift into coherence, and reality rearranges in response. This is not magic. It's math. Alignment is not a reward. It's a return. So stop pushing. Start pulsing. Speak like someone whose words have gravitational pull. Move like someone who knows they're already connected. Decide like someone whose frequency signs contracts the body hasn't seen yet. Because force is what you use when you're disconnected. But frequency? Frequency is what happens when you remember you are the field. Chapter 20. Everything is organizing in your favor. There are moments when everything feels like it's falling apart. Plans unravel. People vanish. Doors close without warning. And you're left staring into the silence, asking, why would the universe let this happen to me? But what if it's not happening to you? What if it's happening for something in you? That's been asking, begging, crying out to be realigned. We only call it falling apart because we become addicted to controlling the arrangement. But the soul doesn't care about your arrangement. It cares about your frequency. And sometimes the collapse you fear is actually the correction you asked for in a prayer you forgot you whispered. Because when your vibration shifts, reality must reorganize. And it doesn't do so gently. It clears. It closes. It reroutes. Not to punish you, but to deliver what your truth is now calling in. You want love? The fake version must dissolve. You want abundance? Your scarcity rituals must break. You want peace? Your addiction to drama must be exposed. You can't have the new while clinging to the architecture of the old. So instead of asking, why is this happening? Ask, what truth in me is this chaos trying to honor? Because the universe isn't emotional. It's mathematically precise. And when it takes something, it's not theft. It's refinement. Everything is organizing itself, not for your comfort, but for your congruence. So the job that didn't work out, the friendship that faded, the version of you that crumbled under pressure, all of it was choreography, clearing space for the next vibration, to land without interference. But you must allow it. Let what is false fall. Let what no longer fits disintegrate. Let what's real hurt and still stay. Because on the other side of this realignment is a life you didn't have to chase. A life that recognizes you. Because you finally recognize yourself. Chapter 21. You already are what you're asking for. Look closely at what you've been chasing. The love, the peace, the recognition, the freedom, the success. Look at the prayers you've whispered in silence. The intentions you've written. The energy you've sent out into the field, hoping something, someone, somewhere would respond. Now ask yourself, who would I be if I already had it? Pause, not hypothetically. Feel it. Would you walk differently? Would your breath be slower? Would your words soften? Would you stop performing? Good, because that's the version of you that already exists, not in the future. Now, right now, you're not waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle, still pretending it hasn't happened. You've told yourself, if I can just manifest this thing, then I'll finally feel that way. But it doesn't work like that. You don't manifest from desire. You manifest from identity. And the truth is, you're not becoming anything. You're remembering what it feels like to stop shrinking long enough for your full vibration to land in your body. The love you want, it's waiting for you to stop acting like you have to earn it. The peace you crave, it arrives the moment you choose not to abandon yourself again. The power you admire in others, it's just your own light reflected back, asking if you're ready to reclaim it. You already are what you're asking for. But as long as you keep putting it in the future, you keep exiling it from you now. This isn't visualization. This is embodiment. Walk like it's done. Speak like it's yours. Choose like you've already arrived. Because the only thing between you and the version of you that receives is the moment you stop pretending they're different. Chapter 22. Imagination is the portal. They told you imagination was fantasy, a toy, a child's game. a useless escape from the cold, hard, real world. But they lied. Imagination is not an escape. It's an entrance, the door to the life that already exists, in a higher octave of your being. It's not wishful thinking. It's spiritual architecture. It's where matter takes form before it has weight. Everything you've ever called real began in someone's imagination. The home you live in, the music you love, the words you're hearing right now. All of it, once invisible, once born in a mind that had the audacity to see before it touched. Your imagination isn't separate from your soul. It is your soul speaking in image, sound, sensation. That vision you keep having, that daydream that won't leave you alone, stop calling it fantasy. Start calling it guidance. Because what you imagine with clarity and emotion becomes a magnetic blueprint, pulling future into now. The more you practice it, the more familiar it becomes. And the more familiar it becomes, the safer it feels in your nervous system. And once it's safe there, reality has no choice but to match it. But only if you stop using imagination to rehearse your trauma. Only if you stop painting worst-case scenarios and calling it being realistic. Only if you discipline your mind to return again and again to the frequency of what could be until it becomes what is. Close your eyes, not to escape, but to enter. See it, hear it, feel the texture of the moment. Not as a viewer, as a creator, because the portal is not somewhere out there. It's right here, behind your eyes, between your breaths, beneath your fear. You don't need to go anywhere. You just need to imagine clearly enough that the universe starts seeing it too. Chapter 23. Dress like the one who already has it. You've asked, you've visualized, you've affirmed. But here's the real question. Have you become the one who receives it? Not, are you working toward it? Not, are you hoping for it? I mean, are you wearing the frequency of the version of you who already lives it? Because vibration has posture. Energy has a silhouette. Alignment has a look, a voice, a way of walking into rooms. It doesn't beg. It doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't shrink to be digestible. It enters space with the quiet confidence of inevitability. When you walk like it's already yours, the universe doesn't ask questions. It responds, because the body is not just a container. It's a broadcast tower. Every step you take is a signal. Every gesture, a ritual. Every outfit, a prayer you don't even realize you're praying. So stop dressing for your doubt. Stop speaking like someone who needs to be convinced. Stop moving like someone trying to negotiate with destiny. Instead, move like the one who's already seen the final scene and came back to play it out in real time. Speak like the one who no longer hustles for proof. Walk like your shadow is already clapping, with a scent, the voice, the stillness of someone who knows that alignment is not performance. It's permission. You don't have to know how it'll happen. You don't have to control the when. You just have to become the clearest signal possible. That what you want already belongs to who you've chosen to be. Because when your field aligns with the thing stops being separate and it starts moving toward you, like it never had a choice. Chapter 24. You're always creating, consciously or not. Let's be clear. You're always creating. Not sometimes. Not only when you light a candle and say a mantra. Not just when you're high vibe. Always. Every thought, every reaction, every belief rehearsed 1,000 times under your breath. Every moment you say, this is just the way it is. That's creation. But here's the twist. You were taught that creation only happens when you're in control, when you're clear, when you've set your intentions and sage your apartment. But that's not how energy works. The universe doesn't wait for you to be conscious to respond. It just responds to your focus, to your expectation, to your vibration, whether it's on purpose or by default. So if you keep waking up to a life that feels like a loop, like someone else wrote the script, maybe you haven't been writing it. You've just been repeating it. reacting, replaying, resisting, not because you're lazy, but because no one told you. Your unconscious beliefs create just as effectively as your conscious ones. The fear you don't face still manifests. The story you keep running in your mind still lands in form. The resentment you've normalized still attracts more of itself. So let this not be a judgment. Let it be a wake-up call. Because now you know, now you get to choose. No more creating from autopilot. No more calling pain your personality. No more blaming fate for what your frequency has been rehearsing daily. Step in, not with control, with consciousness. Every word you speak is a spell. Every belief you hold is a magnet. Every emotion you suppress becomes a seed. So plant with awareness. Speak with precision. Feel with permission. Because the question was never, are you creating your life? The question is, do you like what your vibration's been designing? Chapter 25, You Are the Oracle. How many voices have you followed? How many systems have you memorized? How many times have you asked, what should I do? What's my purpose? What's the right path? You went to the books, to the healers, to the rituals, to the timelines, to the teachers who looked certain enough to calm your chaos. And for a while it worked. You felt direction, relief, structure, but then something cracked. Something inside you whispered, almost too quietly to hear. None of them know, not better than you do. And it wasn't rebellion. It was return to the knowing that never needed permission, to the pulse that always knew the way, to the oracular wisdom that lives in your marrow. You were never meant to chase truth. You were meant to embody it, because the most sacred answers will not come from someone else's voice. They will rise from your silence. They will echo in your chest before your mind can catch up. They will feel like déjà vu, because your soul has already walked that path. In dreams, your conscious mind forgot. You're not the seeker anymore. You are the source. You are the translator of the infinite. You are the portal between the seen and unseen. So stop outsourcing your intuition. Sit down, close your eyes, place your palm on your heart, ask the question, and wait. Not for a sign, not for a miracle, just for the moment your own voice speaks. And you don't ignore it this time, because that voice, that still, unwavering, inconvenient voice, that is the oracle, and it was never outside you. Chapter 27, Time bends to the rhythm of your soul. You've been lied to again. They told you you're running out of time, that you're late, that if you don't hurry, you'll miss it, that success has a deadline, that healing must be accelerated, that joy comes later after you've earned it. But time doesn't move in straight lines. It doesn't care about calendars. It doesn't obey urgency. It bends. It folds. It pulses in rhythm with your presence. Time is not your enemy. It's your mirror. When you rush, it shrinks. When you panic, it fragments. When you resist, it collapses. But when you breathe, when you drop into your body, when you choose to move from essence instead of anxiety, time stretches, time softens, time becomes a servant to your frequency. You're not behind. You're not ahead. You are exactly where the universe can meet you. And the version of you that already lives the life you long for. They're not waiting on the clock. They're waiting for you to arrive in yourself. Because timing is not about when. It's about who you are when it comes. So stop sprinting toward peace. Start walking like time is an instrument, and you're the one conducting it. Speak slower, touch deeper, listen longer, choose deliberately. Let your days become wide. Let your moments become symphonic. Because when your soul leads, the schedule breaks, and in the silence left behind, you hear something true. I was never late. I was always on time for this. Chapter 28, Presence is the new manifestation. You've been taught to reach, to visualize, to desire, to set goals, to project your frequency into the future. But what if the portal isn't ahead? What if the thing you seek, is already here, but you're too distracted to receive it. Presence isn't a practice. It's the frequency of God. And manifestation isn't some reward you get. Once you've finally performed your worthiness, it's what happens the moment you arrive fully in this breath. This one, not the next one. Not the moment after your problems are fixed. Not when you finally feel better. Now, because presence is not a pause in your life. It is your life. It's the space where energy collapses into form, where the abstract becomes actual, where the formless hears your stillness and decides to become you. You keep waiting for the thing, but the thing is waiting for you to stop waiting. Your manifestations don't respond to urgency. They respond to availability. And there is nothing more available than a being who's not chasing or pretending, just being the one who notices the light through the curtain, being the one who feels the ground beneath bare feet, being the one who drinks tea like it's a transmission, being the one who makes a home inside the moment. Because when you are fully here, not reaching, not escaping, everything begins to gather around you. Money, love, clarity, peace, power. They recognize your stillness. They move toward your presence. They respond to your embodiment. And that's the ultimate irony. You were trying to create your future, while the now kept whispering, "I'm already the answer." Chapter 29, You Are the Walking Prayer. What if you never needed to pray? Because you already are the prayer? Not the words, not the gesture, not the sound your mouth makes when you're afraid, but the frequency your body emits. When you decide to walk through the world with integrity, with tenderness, with your eyes open and your hands unclenched. That is prayer. When you speak truth without performing it. When you hold someone without fixing them. When you let silence speak louder than strategy. When you walk away from what dims you, even if it's familiar. That is prayer. When you breathe in pain and don't shut down. When you receive joy and don't apologize for it. When you wake up and say, "I don't need to ask for anything today. I choose to be the thing I once begged for." That is prayer, and you've been doing it your whole life, without knowing it had a name. Every time you listened to your body instead of the clock. Every time you gave without expectation. Every time you chose softness over strategy. Every time you trusted the invisible more than the outcome. That was a liturgy of being, because God doesn't care about your perfection. God moves through your presence, and your presence, when fully alive, is a doorway. So from this moment forward, let your presence be the prayer. Let your posture speak what words cannot. Let your breath write scripture in the unseen. Let the way you exist be a declaration of devotion, because you're not here to ask for miracles. You're here to become one. And when you walk like a living invocation, the world listens, not to what you say, but to who you are. Chapter 30, You've always been the key. You've knocked on every door. You've walked through fire. You've kneeled at altars built by other people's certainty. You've searched the stars for signs. You've searched your past for proof. You've searched your pain for permission. And still, one truth remained untouched, hidden in the one place you kept forgetting to look. Inside, not just as an idea, not just as a spiritual concept, but as a presence, constant, waiting, unwavering. You were never locked out. There was no gate, no code, no final step you had to master. There was only ever one thing, the moment you remember. You are the key, not the seeker, not the beggar, not the student endlessly trying to earn arrival. You are the arrival. You are the access point, the activation code, the miracle, the method, the map. And every tool, teacher, practice, and path was never the source, only a mirror, a reflection of a truth so luminous. You spent years dimming it, just to survive in a world afraid of its shine. But now, there's no more pretending. You can't unknow this. You can't unfeel it. You can't go back to being locked out of a door. That never existed. So from this moment forward, walk like the ground responds to you. Speak like your voice carries light codes. Move like the room rearranges when you enter. Because it does, and it always has. You're not becoming anything. You are remembering everything. And the key you've been praying for, you were holding it the whole damn time. If this message reached you, not just your ears, but your essence, then this wasn't a video. It was a mirror. And if it helped you remember even a fraction of who you are, don't keep it to yourself. Share this with someone whose soul is ready to return. Subscribe to this space. We bring new words every single day to feed the parts of you the world forgot how to love. You're not alone. You're not late. And you are never locked out. You are the key.